Let's get on to this. The International Finance Corporation believes that the digitalization has a major role to play in global economic development. Earlier today in Paris, the private sector lending arm of the World Bank placed its focus on this, and that's at its annual research conference. Let's take some excerpts from the key presentation.
Digitalization is critical for development. Over the last 2 decades, it has become essential, just like electricity, a fundamental enabler to all aspects of business for firms. But like electricity, access and utilization of digital technologies are highly uneven, with many individuals and firms in the developing world being left behind. We know from our experiences and from our economic research that digital technologies can help households save and consume more and adapt better to shocks. Groundbreaking research from Tavneet Suri shows that access to mobile money has increased long-term consumption in Kenya and reduced the number of households in extreme poverty by 2%. In other studies, Tavneet also shows that digitalization can have much broader effects on people, government, and businesses. So I really look forward to learning the latest updates on Tavneet's research on the role of digitalization in development in her opening keynote later today. The digital divide has several dimensions, including regional disparities and gender disparities. In Africa, the continent that I cover for IFC, only 40% of the population is currently using the internet. But there's a large gender gap. 45% of the male population uses the internet compared to 34% of the female population. So improving access to digital technologies may provide further opportunities to empower women and address other gaps such as those observed in the labor market. A 10% increase in 3G coverage may increase the labor force participation of women by almost 3%, by 2.8% on average across a range of emerging markets and developed economies. It further enhances the likelihood of being employed for both women and men. I'm also very excited to learn if digital money can help with gender empowerment, a topic that Nobel laureate Esther Duflo will address in her keynote this afternoon. A growing body of research, including from many people in this room, has shown that how important digitalization is for firm productivity, job creation, and other indicators that affect business competitiveness. Research that will be presented today by Diego Comin allows us to go deeper into the connection between technology use and productivity. It shows that differences in technology sophistication account for almost 30% of the cross-establishment dispersion in productivity. Many of these differences are driven by digital technologies applied to business functions that are common across all firms. Previous research from the World Bank, covering 80 developing countries, also suggests that digital adoption by firms, such as the launching of a business website, increases revenue-based total factor productivity by 2.2%. Despite the potential of digitalization, the productive use of digital technologies by businesses in developing countries is still low. IFC will be releasing a new research report on digitalization of African businesses later this spring. You will hear an overview of some findings from that work from my colleague Marcio Cruz at this conference. This research adds new insight into the state of business digitalization on the continent, as well as on gaps. It finds that even the smallest firms and proprietaries typically have access to at least a mobile phone, but usage of digital technology lags significantly. Mobile payments are the most common usage of digital technology by firms, with more than 60% of businesses using them. But this has not been translated into utilization of other technologies by businesses. In addition, the research shows that more than 60% of firms adopting digital technologies for productive purposes still rely on paper-based or manual processes for a majority of their needs. So a key challenge faced by these businesses is that technology adoption is very expensive in developing countries. We need to better understand the barriers for developing countries to harness the power of digital economies. Over the next 2 days, we'll be discussing the state of the research, including what we know and what we don't know. The conference will showcase cutting-edge research and will feature engaging panel discussions on a broad range of topics, including the use of digital technology by firms, the intersection between digitalization and climate transition, investment opportunities in digital infrastructure and entrepreneurship. IFC, I believe, is in a unique position to contribute to this research about digitalization and businesses in developing countries. Last fiscal year, we committed $44 billion in debt and equity investment in companies and projects around the world, and we spent over $300 million on advisory work with firms and policymakers. We have experienced firsthand how digital technologies can unlock growth in firms. We also know what is required in terms of policy, environment, digital infrastructure, and access to hardware and software to unlock the growth. We're also active investors in startups. And this is an important point that I wanted to mention. We provide full cycle support for promising early stage startups, helping them move from incubating and seeding stages to established companies, receiving direct investments from IFC and large private investors in IFC's network. Since 2016, IFC supported more than 1,180 startups in 24 emerging markets and invested $60 million in over 19 accelerators and seed funds through our Startup Catalyst program. IFC is now doubling its investment in this program with a new pool of $60 million being available. IFC is investing in research not only as a public good, but also to inform our investments and advisory services. And by engaging with academic advisors in our research and organizing conferences like this one, we aim to develop long-term relationships with researchers in this field that allow us to generate new evidence relevant to our operations. So I look forward to connecting with all of you in the next 2 days and discussing ways to use the knowledge we have in this room and also the knowledge there is online with all the colleagues and friends connected to enhance our cooperation with the private sector and our impact on development. I hope you enjoyed this discussion.